Hey everyone, welcome to Changing the Tide. I got Brian Harrington today from Choice by KT. Brian, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Really happy to be here. Really happy.
Yeah, I'm excited too. We met about a month and a half ago. The power of Bitcoin Twitter, right?
hmm
I'm in Orange County on a business trip, and I got about an hour to kill in Anaheim at the end of my last day. First tweet that pops up is the OC Bitcoin meetup, and all of a sudden I'm there. I think you started like 2 hours early just to host me too.
Yeah, look, dude, I've done that for so many people, and I'm so thankful for that. That people just message me when they're in town, and that's why I like that we meet every week. And this is my feedback to just anyone looking to start a Bitcoin meetup. Have consistency, have a consistent time and place, and make it easy on the main crew that's just going to always be there. And so you'll have the main crew that's always there, and then you'll have the people that drive from a little bit farther away and pop in about once or twice a month. And then you will have Bitcoiners that come from all across the country and all across the world that are able to hop in and just meet people and see what the Bitcoin community is like in that area. And so, yeah, I have this routine down. That's like I just receive because as everyone on Bitcoin Twitter knows, just the amount of inbound, positive inbound all the time is can like become overwhelming. But I just try to have a system of just, dude, John's here, like in so yeah, so let's run the early playbook and just go and meet him, and that's what we did. And so, and what's so amazing is that time after time after time, the connection is good. I've honestly never had a bad like miss. And I do a lot of networking. I think you do a lot of networking, and it's your odds are not always that great, but with Bitcoin, it's very, very high every time I've just kind of gone for it.
Lots of great signal, lots of great
Yeah.
people. And what I love about that is you kind of have open sourced the playbook. I mean, I'm seeing meetups, all across California, LA, Central Coast, also in Phoenix,
Yep.
Tucson. I think I saw an awesome one going on, and so that I think that's just growing.
Totally. Yeah. And look, and I'm not the first person to do it. We're not the first people to do it. People have been doing it for a while. And what's exciting again is because we kind of play into the flag and are doing it every week, we get guys coming through and girls coming through that used to do stuff with Bitcoin in LA, like back in the day. Like I've met people that have done stuff back in 2012 and 2013, and 2014, and hearing their stories has been really, really cool. And I would have never met those people if we didn't just show up every single week.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Hey, uh, this show is all about like how you got to Bitcoin, how you got
hmm
to where you are to help change the tide of the future of finance. And you guys are doing that at Choice by KT.
hmm
And so tell us your rabbit hole story. How'd you get orange pilled?
Yeah, yeah. So the very first time I had the word Bitcoin is in one email from my dad in 2014, where he had bought a like algorithm trading bot or something that ran on Mount Gox. And so he wasn't heavy into it, but he lost like $50 on Gox. And so I have like this one email from my dad in 2014 that says the word Bitcoin. And then for whatever reason, at the beginning of 2015, is when him and I made our first Coinbase accounts and just swapped ref links and just kind of started. And so I just put in my $50 and watched it double and pulled out my $50. And every single year since 15 has just been a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. So I don't consider myself someone who just went super heavy or whatever. It's just got started in 15 and added to it every year. And so what I would say my really big ramp up period was in like 15, 16, 17, where I used to work on a lot of political campaigns. After I graduated college, I went to work for this. It's random, but I went to work for this credit union, and then I went to work for this film producer. And just through networking and through networking, through networking, I ended up leaving my sales job at the credit union, and I just got into this like marketing and PR land. And so I was working for these like conservative filmmakers, and then I also started working on these political campaigns, like county supervisors here in Orange County. And what happened with that is I then just kept getting phone calls every 4 months, every 6 months, because there's random ballot measures and just kind of things happening all the time. And so as I was learning that game, I would have a lot of time off. It's very gig work. It's very like campaigns are, there's not, it sounds sexy and there's like TV shows about it, but it's very, it's kind of just manual labor. Like you're moving around chairs and tables and plugging in phones and unplugging phones and just kind of always trying to get, groups of people together. And but I would have months, like couple months off at a time in between these gigs. And so when like my wife Shireen would be at work, I would just be at home watching YouTube. And so I watched a lot of Tone Base, a lot of Jimmy Song, a lot of that's when I first heard the Bitcoin Standard book talked about. I searched Safedine and watched every Safedine video on YouTube and just kind of, it was this thing that as I was becoming, because then what happens in politics land when you're an operative for these campaigns, you either, so you start as like a ambitious youngster with like eyes of changing the world, and then you either fall out of the game when you like realize the corruption, or you become hardened and become a mercenary and just continue like on the trajectory. And honestly, to be super honest, I was okay with both cases. Like I'm a very just like I'd always done student government. I'd always just very, there's a part of my brain that could have very easily gone there. But I really kind of credit Bitcoin with taking me from that path, because it was as I was reaching that tipping point of saying, okay, what kind of operative am I going to be? I was continually getting ramped up with like, wow, like I've never had something that I could go to bat for 100% of the time like I can Bitcoin. And even if you find the best candidate you can to work for, there's still that like last 5%, last 10%, last 20% that's not exactly how I would have said it. Hopefully the end game's okay, like all that kind of stuff. And so that's what happened. It was just as I was ramping up my Bitcoin understanding and as I was getting disenfranchised with politics land, that's what really took me there. And so that led me to meeting Stephen Cole over Twitter, SVNC on Twitter, and he tweeted in Bitcoin Pizza Day 2019, "Hey, I'm going to be at this bar, and I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin. Join me if you want." And up until that point, I had never met anyone else in public to like talk about Bitcoin yet, and so I just replied back and said yes, and I was there, and there were 7 other people there, and that accelerated for. So if that was May of 2019. It's been like 24 months now of Bitcoin every day. And now there's, I haven't had a 7 day stretch without talking to a Bitcoiner in person in 2 years. And so that's pretty crazy. And that I definitely credit that with just everything that I've been able to like learn and understand.
That's incredible. Hey, I want to walk it back to where you were talking about I hit Bitcoin and realized like what was it about Bitcoin then?
Yeah.
Where you're in this politics, this world of politics, and you're like, oh, what is this thing? What
Yeah.
about it just captured your attention?
It, all the incentives, just that it's airtight. It's airtight that it keeps people with different opinions and different incentives on the same page, because that's the main issue. That's where politics breaks down. That's
Yeah.
where because like here's an example in student government. Okay, I'm in student government. Super innocent example. I'm in student government at Azusa Pacific, the college that I went to. Okay, I'm a freshman elected representative, and there's an issue with parking at the senior apartments. They oversell parking passes. Okay, they oversell like 150 passes, and they have 150 less spots than they sell passes. Okay, so that's obviously frustrating. So I'm just like walking around campus, like trying to figure out how to solve this, and I'm like walking through the apartments, and I realized that all the lines are double painted. You've been in the parking spaces where there's a single line, or there's like the U, and there's like a foot in between the spaces. Like there's a foot in between all these spaces. And so I like run and get a tape measure, and like I'm just standing in the middle of the parking lot, like measuring all this stuff. And I'm like, we like run the math across all the spaces. We're like, there's 80 parking spaces here. Like all we have to do is scrape the paint and repaint the lines. And so I like write all this up and bring it to the thing, and everyone's just like, wow. Like, and so we like take it over to the maintenance department, and they're like, wow. And so just all this stuff. And so we get this whole thing passed, and they're like, okay, it's like on the agenda for this summer. And then the agenda got bumped for that summer, and they never repainted the lines. And I'm like, dude, that's what happens like in that world. That's a super innocent, just like that's what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to just be like, let's figure this out, let's get the people on the same page, let's like do this thing. But then there's just like over the top like things that just change up things. And so you can't I in the situations in quote unquote real world, or just stepped up to county level or state level or federal level, are basically that, but just times 100 and times 1,000, and just gets worse and worse and worse. And because you have people that profit off of the spaces staying the way they are. And so that's like the classic thing, that's the issue. And so that's why the like fix the money, fix the world, and just this kind of base layer of society needs to be reworked to be incorruptible. That's why
The base layer being money, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
that's
what
cool.
started to just really click for me. It's just the best of intentions and the best ideas are just still getting bogged down in humans having to coordinate with each other, and bad money is making it really hard to coordinate with each other, and it's making really bad incentives across all of society. And so let's rework the very base layer to an incorruptible form, and that's just going to rising, like Bitcoin is the greatest example of rising tide lifts all boats of anything. And it's incredible that it's also the biggest tent movement of anything. Again, the very fact that you have just people with so wide ranging differing opinions that are physically pushing towards the same goal. Like they can't help but to help each other while they're pushing on it. It's impossible. That's weird. That's weird. There's no example of that in anything else I've ever been a part of.
Yep, we were kind of talking about that at the Bitcoin meetup. If you remember,
Mm-hmm.
I had written something a few years ago just for fun for one of my professors back at Pepperdine, but it was the idea of like Plato thousands of years ago said that the town or like society is greater than the individual. And then Ralph Waldo Emerson is off in the woods and being transcendental, and
Right?
in 1800s, and he says the individual is so much greater than the town, but there's never been
Mm-hmm.
something where you can be on one or the other of those spectrums and still believe like
Totally.
something similar about a really important part of humanity.
I think uh, I don't know who said it first, but Nick Carter's the first person that comes to mind, and his tweets of like Bitcoiners are fiercely loyal to the individual and the city at the same time, in the bigger city. And it's like, and then it's that, and that's amazing to be fiercely loyal to both. I don't, again, there's no examples.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so that's kind of your Bitcoin story, what leads you
Mhm.
there. All of a sudden you get to choice. When did you start, and what
Yeah.
really drew you there?
Yeah. I so like Bitcoin Pizza Day 2019 just kept taking my like Bitcoin networking and everything up and up and up, and been a part of this every day, which led me to a lot of good Twitter conversations. Just the same way I met you, I've been able to meet a lot of great Bitcoiners across the country. And as my so my son was born 2 months ago, and I started at Choice 7 weeks ago. And so I
Congrats and congrats.
it was in the downtime. It was in the downtime of just taking some weeks off of the meetup and taking some weeks off of trying to take some time off Twitter. That I just been thinking, what is kind of next? What's next that I can focus on? Because I was focused on kind of just doing some independent BTC Pay consulting, and other just marketing consulting around Orange County for kind of during that whole time. Um, but yeah, so I just started scrolling, and like I found Choice on Angel Co, and then I scrolled their job board, and they just had a perfect opening for just product marketer. And so I DM'd them, and something I'm really happy about, and I've talked about this with the guys there too, is like when I sent them a message, I just said, "Look, I'm a Bitcoiner. I've known about you guys for a whole year. I remember watching Ryan, the CEO, on Pomp back in the day, back in 2020, and I should have signed up by now. Like, let me figure out. Let me come here and figure out why I haven't signed up, so that we can get other Bitcoiners. Because I feel like I can talk to Bitcoiners, and I this is important because this is a big bucket of money in these retirement accounts. So just if you guys are open to it, let's meet and figure it out." And we did. And so that's it. Truly did just happen that organically. Of like, I yeah, just had the opportunity to be a good fit. And I'm thankful to just be able to sit between the marketing department and the product department, like building the software, and just be like just talking to Bitcoiners, doing user interviews, and just saying like, look, this is what people need, this is what people need, this is what problems we're solving. And so, yeah, that part's really cool. But it definitely all came from just being able to have a clear head and taking some time off, just right before my son was born too.
Congrats, by the way, on your son,
Yeah, thank
you and
you.
Shirin.
Hmm.
And also, so I'm seeing this path of uh, politics, which
Hmm.
is like the ultimate marketing campaign.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then, so your background since then has pretty much been marketing, and that choice role just was the
Yeah.
perfect fit.
Yeah. And yeah, because so like political campaigns, meetups, and like product marketing is it's all the same thing because you're just talking to people. You're talking to people, and we might talk about it later, but it's like the internet craves authenticity. It demands authenticity. This is something I try to relay to like other like clients when I was, trying to do my own agency, and it's like the internet demands authenticity. And even on top of that, the Bitcoin community demands authenticity because that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is, guys, why did the painting project for the lines get squashed? What happened over the summer that you guys decided to squash this and now we're moving into another year of oversold passes? What happened, guys? Like, and we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. And that's like people are frustrated by that. That's like this. That's literally if you just sum up everything, just people are frustrated, and they have a right to be so. Like I just like economic populism and just like craving authenticity and just real comments is the sign of the times. And so I think that I'm just really thankful the like our marketing officers and our product officers like Fitch and Calvin have just been really great at just allowing me to be myself and be the Bitcoiner and just be like that. It's just been thankful, and it helps other people. Everyone then is able to be themselves even more too, and that's really good. I think that is the future because I said this on I said this on Tales from the Crypt a while back, like politicians don't get in the comments with people.
Mm.
Get in the comments. Like get in the comments and have the conversation. You can't the world is too complex to kind of like just move with fluffy words over things. The world is different now. It's just like super super wild. And so I think companies and brands that just like they're our software is starting to move so fast and so fast and so fast that like the people that can communicate the stacks that people can use to make their lives better are just going to do the best and serve people the best. So yeah.
I totally agree. And so here we come into this new go to market message, like probably
Mhm.
one of your first projects. Well, actually, the first two projects that you were probably a part of.
Mhm.
I'm a Fold user, so love the
Mhm.
Fold team. Shout out to
Mhm.
them.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I show up one morning and the new spin wheel for Fold is Choice by KT, and I
Yeah.
immediately text you.
Yeah.
So, were you in on any of the like go to market for that?
So no, that's full credit to like Fitch and Calvin again for like putting that together. I it was a surprise to me showing up, a pleasant surprise showing up and being able to be a part of that like rollout. And so yeah, helped be a part of a lot of the like conversation and just the way that we would talk about the mission. But dude, no, major credit to those guys for putting that together, and really thankful to the Fold team for just being so cool and the app being so good. That's honestly what sets up the entire thing is that the Fold app is like legitimately solving an issue that people have, and they're helping people pull fiat out of the old world and move it into the new world. And so it's like a revolutionary transitionary tool.
It's amazing. The only reason I asked is because I know just yesterday I think you were in an AMA on their Discord
Yeah.
with David, and
Yep.
so I didn't know if you were part of that.
Yeah.
The
No, that was fun.
Yeah, it seemed like it.
Hmm.
So I'd say the real groundbreaking project is what Choice unveiled last week, which is this incredible way to stash tax efficient Bitcoin by
Hmm.
mining.
Yeah.
Let's
Yep.
go there.
Yeah.
So your CEO, has a quote. Ryan Radloff. He said to a publication, "You're generating Bitcoin returns every week, and before you might have to sell that Bitcoin to cover your tax bill and then other costs." Probably referring to electricity
Mhm.
and that sort of thing. Now you can cover your costs with the tax efficient Bitcoin generated from your IRA. It creates a circular Bitcoin economy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, unpack that for us.
Yeah. So I love that quote. Really love that quote. And because I love the circular economy. And again, that's something that I was using the whole last 12 months before coming on the team to talk about. And circular economy means cutting out fiat. It means using Bitcoin as the base currency. And that is what's so revolutionary about the like tax advantage accounts that you're able to set up through Choice app is it allows you to use Bitcoin as the base currency if that's what you choose. And through doing that, so you can pay the hosting fees and you can buy the miners and you can use Bitcoin as that currency. And then mining is so powerful because the income is denominated in Bitcoin as well. And so, in through talking to a lot of people and having a lot of conversations, and look, major credit to like Russell Okung when he like tweeted out, "Pay me in Bitcoin," and a lot of the movements that are being pushed around that, getting paid in a currency. I talked to another guy that came through our meetup that moved here from India back in the day, and he said the main when the switch happened in his head from rupees to dollars was when he started making dollars. And so, and that's at a mental level of just saying, how much is this coffee? How much is this rent? And then, because if your brain is just always working on that other currency, then even when you move to the new area, you're still going to be kind of, it definitely takes the transition and you'll always still kind of be calculating it back to just what is a fair price or what is my budget or things like that. And so getting paid in Bitcoin and starting to budget in Bitcoin is going to accelerate the brains and accelerate the budgeting of the people that are doing this. And that is when that clicked for me. That's when I got very fired up about retirement accounts and tax advantage accounts.
Yeah, because if I'm understanding correctly, the breakdown is the way it works is you have to deposit US dollars into the account, but then you can use those US dollars to purchase a mining, let's say mining equipment
Yep.
through another Bitcoin,
Yep.
a Bitcoiner company,
Yep.
Compass,
Yep.
which is awesome. I mean, to see
Yep.
you guys fold Compass
Mhm.
all working together, a true circular economy is
Yep.
incredible. But
Yep.
then, but then, it just starts mining,
Yep.
and the vehicle that you bought was the miner,
Mhm.
and then whatever Bitcoin is generated from that is just sitting in your account, and you
Yep.
can use it to cover the costs.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so yeah, it's a perfect combination of everything that Choice is good at and everything that Compass is good at. And that's what makes it so powerful. And I was going to say this earlier, what is also very cool about like Kingdom Trust and Choice app is that Kingdom Trust has been doing this with alternative assets for a lot of years. They've been a custodian for alternative assets for a lot of years. And I actually believe like I think Bitcoiners can learn a lot from OG real estate guys. I do think the way it's kind of a funny meme now of the like, is Bitcoin digital real estate? And I've seen people just being funny about that. I don't think it's a bad analogy. I don't hate the analogy, and so I'll definitely be in the camp of not hating the analogy because like Bitcoin is a land grab, and we need good people to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible in this time right now because it's like 95 it's like 95% of the supply is gone by 2026 and then like 99% is gone by 2036. And so it's might have both those backwards. I should have had that up off the top of my head. But it's this next decade matters. Next decade super matters. And so I think we can it's just good. It's just good to see like people that have been really good at custodying alternative assets continue to just innovate and improve and provide solutions where based on all the knowledge that they've gathered up until this whole time. And building off that also, what I love about Choice App is we're replicating an easy to follow path. Look, there's more than one way to do everything. Classic. Like there's more than one way to do everything. The major goal of Choice App is to create the simplest, most efficient path that just a regular person can download this app and follow this path. Can you go and do this in other places? Absolutely. And please do. If you're pulling fiat out of the legacy world, please do. But if we want to create the fastest, simplest path for you to download this app, pull out your accounts from Schwab and from TD Ameritrade and from Fidelity and from the legacy world and keep them all in the structure they've already been, and then move it into Sats and move into the circular economy. So that's sweet.
Yeah, it's really groundbreaking, and thanks for talking about Kingdom Trust, because that's the tide changing concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
All assets, one place, digital, legacy,
Mm-hmm.
Assets like land,
Yep.
those
Yep.
sorts of things can all be in one
Yep.
account, and then you have an app for it, which
Yep.
is incredible. I've been working at a company that creates, uh, you know, apps for about 5 years now, specifically
Mm-hmm.
for the church. Which is
Yep.
probably a good time for a disclaimer to say that anything I say on this show doesn't reflect my employer, but in any case, I think one of the most fun things that I got a chance to do was, in a way that you're doing it, is kind of build a community building app,
Mm-hmm.
and I see you doing that, and it must just be so fun. I mean, you're helping build and market an entirely new fintech mobile app for people's retirement accounts, and it's like retirement has come for our age people.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
So how's that process been? What's it been like?
Yeah. So building in public is definitely something like that. I was challenged to do and challenged to just continue. And so that was definitely one of the bullet points that we are just asked to retain the authenticity and really talk about, what is it like to take old world processes and move them into the new world? Because dealing with, and this is really, every Bitcoin app is dealing with this. The old world is really hard to work with. The old world is completely hard to work with, and working on the Bitcoin side is actually easier than interfacing with some of the fiat on ramps and things like that. And so there's this constant just getting better and better and pushing the legacy world to kind of update and move faster and do those things. And so, but yeah, building in public is definitely it. There was two. We kind of have two. Where do they have it? There's multiple there's multiple messages on like the market fit stuff. And one is kind of that pulling fiat out of the old world message. And then the other message is that circular economy and just kind of having different buckets of Bitcoin for different things. And because I try to say that a lot about this isn't replacing anything else you're already doing with Bitcoin. If you're already doing Bitcoin using a lot of other tools, all this is doing is giving you a third bucket, a third thing to do. So, and it's helping you put these accounts to better use. Like I realized that I wasn't putting our retirement accounts to as positive use as we could, and I was messing around with like Tesla stock and like things like that. And I was like, that isn't exactly achieving. I wanted to like support them and like be a part of this. And I really liked that at the time. And honestly, that's what led to me taking a little bit of time off just before my son too, because that really bummed me out that like both missions and both worlds couldn't have like come together better and like on the same page better. I still am just like kind of trying to unpack that in my brain. I'm just like not really understanding what all the politics that like may have happened in just everything that happened around that. But to the point of just using, if like Bitcoin is my currency, I should use that as my base currency and have a checking account for Bitcoin, a savings account for Bitcoin, investments account for Bitcoin. Just continue to take ground in my own life, moving that and making that, my currency.
Yeah, and so you guys are. I think I remember a tweet that you put out probably not long after I met you. It's probably early July or something along those lines. But different stacks for different purposes
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
was the concept, and that actually really was the onus for me saying, oh man, I should really start thinking about how to leverage Bitcoin for retirement,
Mm-hmm.
because there's just no better asset. Um, there are very few assets you can put in a retirement account that are also a network, like
Yeah.
that comes along with it, and a
Yeah.
strong, like open 24/7
Yeah.
network.
To I liked what you just said about making retirement accounts something. You said something like making retirement account worth it for our generation or something, and I completely agree with that because the whole like $6,000 cap on a Roth IRA, $6,000 a year putting into the S&P, and then just okay, fast forward 15 years and just cool, like you have like low six figures, like that's good. That's good and positive. And that's not a chump change amount of money. And that's positive to save for your future. But that doesn't like it doesn't that's really hard to like forgo the 6,000 in the current year that you are trying to accomplish other life goals. And I think people are caught in that middle a lot. But when you realize that like and you layer on top of all of that, just I think we do all have a lot of like economic populism in our heads of just like kind of like, I don't know if just like moving into the index funds is the move anymore. We all kind of talk to our parents and saw it happen. And it's just like, I don't know if just chilling in the index fund is the move. I don't, that doesn't excite me. Whereas if you can then combine it with the excitement of Bitcoin and the excitement of a potential better future and all those things, potential better future again for the fiercely loyal to yourself and the fiercely loyal to all of society. That's what then makes it exciting, and that's what then makes the like okay, 6K fresh inbound fiat, but then you're a part of that brand new network that's expanding it every single day. Everything divided by 21 million. Everything is like funneling into this, and this is becoming a new standard. Then, and you kind of like again read about how the OGs like Peter Thiel like did do it with his Roth and like things like that, and that then becomes exciting. That then becomes exciting at a personal level and at an individual level because talking about circular economy, like I want to see Bitcoin become the currency of the world in my lifetime. And so I'm doing that with lots of buckets. And one of these buckets is smashing 6K of fiat into a Roth every single year, gets it into the clear for then post 59. I have no idea imagine BTC Pay Server in when I'm 59. Imagine what BTC Pay Server is going to be like when I'm 59. And so being able to withdraw it to then your own hardware wallet and then put it into Lightning and put it into Liquid and have it circulating to like these businesses as Bitcoin is becoming the standard, that then means that we'll be able to see it happen in our lifetime. The circular economy will grow in our lifetime.
Yeah, and I think about it too, just the problem of since last year, what was it? There was a tweet I saw where someone was comparing they had bought copper wiring for their home like 2 years ago at Lowe's, just a standard
Right.
like 250-yard wrap. They did it this year, and it was like 4x in 2 years. And it's like, yeah, low six figures is great. It's pretty good now.
Right.
15, 20, 25 years from now, low six figures US dollar,
Totally.
everyone understands the game. And I think that's the other thing that I just saw right away with Choice App was
Mm-hmm.
that I was talking with someone who's a generation older than me recently, and I said, what's so interesting about today is that the financial game, because it's always been a game,
Mm-hmm.
the financial game, there are new rules that came out of the blue about 12 years ago,
Yep.
and people are trying to wrap their heads around it. But it's expanded access to the game and allowed you to do things and build wealth in a way you've never done before. And so the fact that you guys are just bolting onto that, like I'm really inspired by what Jack Mallers said when
Mm-hmm.
Strike came out. He's like, it's an open 24/7 monetary network interoperable with your bank.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys are making the retirement account aspect of it, you're bolting on to a
Yep.
24/7 open global monetary network. So
Yep.
good on you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing this, and all of a sudden, all the people who are technical, and I guess everyone who works at your company is a shadowy supercoder now. Uh,
Yep.
Senator Warren came out and called Bitcoiners that, and so a lot of them took it as a badge of honor. But
Mm-hmm.
you're going to market with this as a battle is raging over the cryptocurrency provision in the new infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
That is, in a lot of ways, an attack on the United States being um, bit of the like think tank for how to
Mm-hmm.
do this new financial world, like it'll go
Mm-hmm.
elsewhere if
Mm-hmm.
these provisions pass.
Yep.
And then we have Gary Gensler, head of the Securities and Exchange Commission, making a very interesting comment specifically about Bitcoin yesterday. So, what's it been like for you guys? Are you just heads down, just keep building what we're building? What's your response to kind of what's going on right now?
Yeah. So on the scale, definitely have been in the heads down camp. A little bit of that is still from the just I'm still just getting over my hangover of like being in politics land, and I'm just like taking a lot to like detoxify from all of that. So that's like at a personal level of that. But and then just like being busy with like doing the iOS launch, and like doing the mining launch and doing that things like that. But with all that being said, I still am on Twitter every day with everyone all the time. And so I do enjoy seeing what other people are seeing and picking up on what's happening. And so two things on the infrastructure part is like I liked what Toomey said about unworkable. Unworkable is a great word and a great descriptor for that, because the reality is that doesn't make any sense. What you wrote down, the physical words you wrote down in the order that you wrote them down, that doesn't make any sense. Like, and so what you're doing is you're tipping your hand that you have no idea what's going on. Like, and so that is kind of emboldening Bitcoiners of all stripes, all stripes of Bitcoiners, no matter, your opinion on if the system is salvageable or not salvageable, and working within it versus not working, and voice versus exit and all that stuff. Because all of that stuff's positive. All of the voice versus exit and all of the, well, can we reform or should we build our own? All of that's positive. Literally, I agree with both and all of it. So I like that word unworkable. And I think that's what we should continue to say is like, look, or there was a funny tweet. It was like, if you're using Windows 98, I don't really know what to say about like what your thoughts are on what's happening. And that kind of does sum it up. Like, I don't, and so there's that element to it. And then at the very local element to it, a big part of OC Bitcoin Network that I've been trying to do is uh, I want representatives, county, city, state, whatever, to come to this meeting. Because again, every single Thursday in Anaheim, real people sit at this restaurant and talk about Bitcoin. And they talk about the technical aspects of it, and they talk about the philosophical aspects of it, and they talk about fix the money, fix the world, and they talk about voice versus exit. And so if you want to get in the comments in real life and meet real people that are doing this, come to like Thursday nights in Anaheim. And so we tweeted out from the OC account, and tagged all our local Congress people here in Orange County, who I'm loosely aware of their names and know people that work for them and all that stuff. And I just said, you are invited. You're invited. If you have to eat on Thursday nights, so come eat with us and talk about this. And then the simple thing that I relay is, look, I use Bitcoin is the unit of account for my future savings. Period. My family uses this. My son, there's a very real chance he will not have a bank account. Okay? Like, and that's what, and so this is me talking to a representative right now. I would relay exactly that. Hey, super thanks for coming tonight. Honestly, really appreciate it. Thanks for your time tonight. Bitcoin is the money that my family uses. Okay? So you have to start there. We can cover all the like what are wallets and how does mining work and whatever after that. But I'm letting you know, U.S. dollars do not work for my family because of decisions that have made. U.S. dollars don't work for my family, so we're going to use Bitcoin as the currency that we're going to use. That's something that we're going to do as a family. So happy to start this conversation, but you have to understand that from there what's happening. I don't think a lot of them have had that very frank conversation of like, look, no,
Yep.
this matters to me and my family.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the most interesting thing was about that is it seemed to about the bill that is that it seemed to require people who have no way to do it to KYC every single person that they are connected with. But the way the tech works, it's unworkable.
Yeah,
So that,
that's not how it works.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think what's so fascinating about this is that for the longest time I've been thinking in my own kind of head, will will this thing just become this secondary like world that people just flock to, or will it infiltrate?
Hmm.
And with Gensler's quote yesterday, I'll read it so that we
Hmm.
can kind of discuss it. He was talking with someone at the Aspen Institute, and he said, and in that work, and he's specifically talking about his work teaching the cryptocurrency course at MIT. And in that work, I came to believe that though there was a lot of hype masquerading as reality in the crypto field, Nakamoto's innovation is real. And some in the public sector would say, oh no, almost like wishing it away. I really do think there is something real about the distributed ledger technology and moving value on the internet.
Hmm.
That it's like a real true innovation. And
Yeah.
this was so as you hear that quote, just what thoughts come to mind?
Yeah. So what I love about that is I love that helping people understand the difference between Bitcoin and crypto does help put them at ease a little bit. And so, what I would say, I use this sentence a lot too with talking to just people that I'm trying to relay Bitcoin to. I say, look, this was a physical and mathematical breakthrough. You want to talk about science, you want to talk about computer science, you want to talk about math. Like, I didn't pass my AP calculus test, so I can't be in the weeds about that. And so let me know if you can, and again, just talking directly to the person. But this was a mathematical breakthrough. Like, they created the ability to have digital scarcity. Like email, if I send you an email, we now both have a copy of the email. So that doesn't work as money. When you send Bitcoin, it's verifiably not in my control anymore, and it's verifiably in your control. And you can look at the Reason magazine has a really good series on the cypherpunks. It's like 4 parts on YouTube, and it talks about all the precursors to Bitcoin.
Wow.
Bitcoin didn't start in 2009. Bitcoin started a while back, and this whole like a while ago. And people had tried and tried and tried, and then those guys on the mailing list were like talking about it, talking about it, talking about it, and then it happened, combining all these things, and then it happened. And so it's a step forward for society. I think relaying that to people and being like, look, because what Gensler said in his comments, he's basically saying like like Bitcoin, not shitcoins. Is like kind of what he said. That's basically what he said. And he basically was just like, look, this is an innovation. There's also a lot of noise and other things flocking to it. And I've come to just kind of, it's funny, thinking through that lens and looking at other things that happen in society, there's often lots of noise and I don't want to say scams because I'm trying to just like come up with new language, but it's like, but noise is like overused too. There's lots of distractions. There's lots of distractions and competing agendas that come towards truth. Every single time that truth is known, what happens? Lots of mercenaries and lots of just side projects and just things flood around it, flood around it, flood around it. And that, so it's almost like it almost proves that there is something there with Bitcoin because of how much other things are trying to do the like, oh, you like Bitcoin, then you like this. Oh, you like Bitcoin, then you like this.
Oh, you talking about getting in the comments, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think there was a funny quote that I went back and listened to your Tales from the Crypt with interview with Marty Bent, and I think at the very end you mentioned something just as a way to like, hey, this is what I tell people who, let's say, are like Christian, right,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of
Mm-hmm.
trying to get into Bitcoin. You compared Bitcoin to Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, hey, if you're looking at coins, like, here's the one.
Yep. Yep.
Everything else is just distraction.
Yep.
Um, and
Or it's a
I think that, go ahead.
Yeah, or it's a copying of it. It's a copying of it. So you took 80% of it and then you added on some other stuff that serves you. And that happens with a lot of I don't hate analogies. I'm really interested in the way that people use analogies of Bitcoin in in their world. So whether you're
Hmm.
using political analogies or whether you're using like religious analogies or the real estate analogies or the whatever, I think that's another thing that points to how true and how airtight the incentives are of Bitcoin. The fact that people are able to describe it in their own languages so well, that's really impressive to me. And so, yes, two people that grew up with a faith background and spirituality background, I do think there's a lot of similarities to like Bitcoin and just kind of, Christians versus like religious. And just this word religious, I guess. Like the word religious is a very all-encompassing word that actually, so whatever single religion you follow, the word religious doesn't exactly describe what, I don't care what single religion you're like describing. The word religious is a weird grouping of a lot of separate beliefs. And so that's how I see the word crypto. The word crypto, and I've seen people trying to reclaim crypto as kind of cryptography, which I think that's super positive. I think that's really positive. Um, but this word crypto, that doesn't really mean anything. And so I think that's a major tip off too of like, and again, I'm give people grace if you're just like entering the conversation and you're just again just asking questions, doing it. It's not like a thing, but it's like if you are trying to kind of have the second and third level conversations and just still kind of just referring to broad language, like you're not grasping fully what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that was what perked my ears up at that Gensler comment of there was a lot of hype masquerading as reality,
Yeah.
but Nakamoto's innovation was real. And for whatever you take of the rest of that
Mhm.
conversation, we've got the head of the Securities and Exchange Commission who classifies Bitcoin separately from every other project in the space.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
which, hey, uh, probably part of the reason you're on the choice team. So,
Yeah, I think you have like, and I think that's going to happen more and more. And so I'm not in on this topic of just reforming the system and working within the system versus building a separate one. Both are positive, and I have friends that are doing a great job in both worlds. And I do want to see Bitcoin lobbying and Bitcoin, um, just kind of relaying the message to DC and the paper belt, as Balaji calls it. I do want to see that world get better, and so I do want to help in whatever capacity I have the ability to help in that world. Um, but I do also believe that because I have so much confidence in Bitcoin, in it being incorruptible and the incentives being airtight, that I don't actually believe you can capture it. I don't think you can. I don't think you can. And so just the more people learning the truth, the better. The more people understanding Nakamoto's innovation, you are going to have an opinion about Nakamoto's innovation. This is what, so it's like, so when the representative comes to OC Bitcoin Network, it's three pronged. It's my family literally uses this. So this matters to me and my family at like a very real level. This was a literal computer science step forward for humanity. And so this isn't just a random internet marketing thing. Like this is not marketing language that's like getting people to buy in. This was actually a physical science thing that happened in the world. And then number 3, you were going to have an opinion about this.
hmm,
So it's totally fine if you just leave tonight and you're just like, okay, well, there was only 50 people there, maybe when there's like 5,000 people there, then we'll start to look at it. That's totally fine. I could understand why you would leave with that reaction. But just letting you know, you are going to have an opinion about this. And the future is going to look back very positively on people that had an opinion, a well articulated opinion early.
yeah, you're going to have an opinion on it. And if you're saying to the public that you support the United States specifically as a
Mhm.
jurisdiction of being ahead of the world in science, technology, computer science, that sort of thing, your opinion better be well formed.
Yeah. Yeah. It has to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, this has been an awesome conversation, Brian. Gets me stoked for the next OC Bitcoin meetup here in a couple
Mhm.
weeks that I'll be able to attend. But before we head out, I'd love to hear where people can find choice
Yep.
and where they can find you.
Yep. Yeah. So for choice, make your choice accounts at retirewithchoice.com. And then if you have an iPhone, We're in the middle of our iPhone rollout. Go to choiceapp.io to get the iPhone app. And then if you're interested in the kind of mining in your IRA stuff, go to choiceapp.io/compass. And then you can find me at Brain Harrington, Brain like in your head, Harrington on Twitter, and my DMs are open. And so if you have a question about Bitcoin or meetups or personal finance or just anything related to the Choice App product suite, message me on Twitter and I will get you a response.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again, Brian, and hey, viewers and listeners, thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Hey, so hold on one second. I'm going to stop it here.